Welcome to What She Said, an Our Pride show where we spend a moment with the most iconoclastic women of the new now who are keeping the doors open for lesbian and bi, pan, polysexual women and everyone in the LGBTQ community. My name is Mimi Gonzales. I've been at those doors. I'm still holding them open for everybody else. So welcome to What She Said, where we're going to meet some fantastic women.
My first guest. I am so excited. Good goddess. She is the liberated love child every lesbian dreamed of making a world for way back in the 70s. She calls herself a fourth wave feminist, and she's been invited to Gloria Steinem's Upper East Side home. She just did the virtual graduation with Sonia Renee Taylor. And this is the young woman who painted everybody's faces red when she ran the London Marathon, free bleeding on the first day of her period. Please welcome our new hero, Madame Gandhi.
It's so cute, Mimi. Thank you for that introduction. Love you.
You're amazing. You make me feel like exactly who we wanted to build the world for, as we were building it for ourselves. And the fact that you call yourself a feminist and a fourth wave feminist for a third wave feminist, I'm a little triggered because there was a long moment where young women would not even call themselves feminists. So that's kind of one of the first questions I want to ask you is, how did you get to your feminism? And have you had to, how have your interactions been with some of your peers around that? Are there people you have to bring along, people you have to explain it to?
That's a great question. I never felt afraid of claiming that term. I remember being 8 years old on the tennis court in India, taking tennis lessons from a pretty problematic coach, where it was like 6 boys in the after school program and me. And it was a lot of like, man up, you know, don't hit like a girl, this kind of thing. And as a young person, I remember being on the tennis court and right before I hit like a really good shot, I like put my fist in the air and I was like, feminism. Like it just was obvious to me, you know, it was like very clear. And my parents never were the ones who taught it to me. It was just like watching pop culture and watching the Spice Girls and understanding that women and girls and femmes have so much to offer, and yet in pop culture and in the media, we are often reduced to problematic stereotypes that value us only for our looks and for our sexuality. And so as a young person, I really did understand that. And it's interesting because I've never felt any kind of defensiveness or need to explain around my feminism because I feel so clear in its truth. The only thing I will add is that in the past couple years, really having to be intentional almost in the other direction, to be inclusive and make it clear that my message and my work very much celebrates folks who are gender nonconforming, very much celebrates trans women who have often felt excluded from a feminist agenda, and actually say, not only is my movement or my message inclusive, but it's trans women and it's gender nonconforming people who inspire me. Like in us being brave enough to be our most authentic gender identity, it teaches every single person to be able to do that. So the short answer is I've never felt defensive against folks in general. It's only been the need to be very intentionally inclusive of folks of alternative gender identities.
You know, you just tied your creativity to your full self, to being brave enough to be your full gender identity. It's also something that you were talking about in one of the interviews I read about you, about creativity. And that seems to be one of the secrets, is to fully be who you are. And that teaches everybody else to fully be who they are.
Yes.
Did you were you supported along the way by your family? Is that how you're able to access your creativity, your authentic self your feminism, who you are, your artistic self?
I love that question. I think my parents' support has always been in terms of achievement. My parents are definitely grew up as overachievers. They were both the head boy and head girl in their class in India as high schoolers, which is how they found each other and got married. It's interesting because they are no longer together, but growing up in my household in New York City, you know, my parents were from India and they were raising 3 kids with the intention of being successful, quote unquote, whatever that means. And so we were raised with this notion of giving back, of public speaking, of having access to opportunities like learning how to play the drums, like learning how to DJ, like doing a bunch of sports after school. And so in that way, we were really quite privileged, not only because we had parents who pushed us, but we had the ability and means to do these extracurricular activities. So in that way, I felt very, very supported and very encouraged. And I do think feminism was sort of an understood value in my household. It never felt pushed back. It was like, of course, whatever the girls can do, the boys can do. That was very understood. And so I do feel that was lucky. That said, I was definitely encouraged to go to Georgetown and Harvard Business School and all these very like quote unquote elite institutions to study, because I think my family was pushing me more to go into working one day in the Obama White House or working sort of in a political sphere. And maybe one day in my life, I'll run for a council member position or something like that, or you know, consider that more traditional role. But I always saw my politics lying in my music. So it did take some time to really share that that's what I want to do with my life and get that support.
Well, you know, the third wave feminists would love to just share with you that you're living their old school saying, which is the personal is political. So you are living a
and
political
I feel that.
Yeah, you are.
I feel that. And I think in the fourth wave, as you're saying, one thing I feel has enabled this wave of activism is social media, because we're able to be in control of our own narrative. You know, if you think about some of the earliest movements in the 1920s, when you had white female Americans trying to get the vote, they had such a tough time getting journalists and media to genuinely tell that story, because it was mostly men who were controlling the media. And so there was a lot of zine making and controlling and making their own publications to distill their own information so that it wouldn't be warped by journalists who didn't align with what they were saying. And in our own way, it is radical that we have social media to be able to share these tools. And we forget that it's a huge part of why activism has really been so powerful and unifying in the past decade, whether it's Black Lives Matter or sort of the women's movement that we saw after the Trump election.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You're living that answer. You didn't have to think it out. You're actually living it. And I feel very proud that you're one of my gay babies, because I didn't have kids, but you came up behind.
Thank you, Mimi. I love you.
I love you too. I already love you. You kind of answered this question. And I'm going to sort of reframe it a little bit, because you really talk about elevating and celebrating the female voice. And you're also about gender liberation. So how do the two of those align? On one side, we're hearing that to express a specific gender is not liberated. Then we hear gender is fluid. And then we hear that female is not biological, it's a gender construct. I mean, how do you put the two of those together? It's a little
I love it.
complicated, but
I think the first part that you mentioned, where gender liberation doesn't allow for identifying with any gender, I think I would disagree with that. And I know you're reflecting back to what I said. I think it's that gender liberation means we are brave enough to identify however we want without the fear that a certain gender identity connotes privilege or hierarchy over another. That's where the liberation has to live. Whether I say I am masculine of center, if I say I am female, if I say I am a trans man, none of these different identifiers mean I have access to certain privilege over the other. That's where liberation lies. But right now, we still do live in a world where, based on how you identify, is basically the degree to which we decide we want to oppress you. And that's why there is so much thoughtful activism around protecting trans female lives, Black trans women's lives, because we understand that that is the most vulnerable population based on these problematic hierarchies that we have in our society today. And past feminisms have, in a desire to show up for myself and my body, or other, yourself and your body, has been exclusive, because the idea is like, first let's fight for this one thing, then we can fight for this other thing. But that is a problematic way, because we have to understand that, when only we are all free, like none of us are free until all of us are free type mentality. We cannot say first white women, then Black women, first cis women, then trans women, first straight women, then gay women. We can't do that. The systems of oppression come full force, and we need to tackle them unanimously. And the first us, then you mentality has always been a form of perpetuating that oppression, and saying like, okay, well, let me make sure I fit somewhere on the hierarchy. It's like, no, we understand that these kinds of things affect us all negatively, and we have to unify in order to fight them. So yes, when I say elevate and celebrate the female voice, I also mean I will stand up for myself and my body. I will stand up for pro-choice movements. I will stand up for abortion rights. I will stand up for things that do affect female identifying people directly. But I will also stand up for trans liberation. I will also stand up for liberation of folks who identify as non-binary. I will stand up for folks who have experienced the same kind of oppression that I know I've experienced. So that's how I see and negotiate these things.
I just want to say one thing. Preach, girl! You're really in it, and you're very clear, and your intention is very pure, and I truly respect you and appreciate how you're living this clearly, which is why you're able to answer this so clearly, because you've thought about it a lot, because you are living it.
Thank you.
I truly respect that and appreciate that.
I like that you asked me that question, though. People dance around that question. People are afraid of that question. I'm glad you've given me the chance to answer that question, so thank you.
We'll make that part of this go viral. Okay, now let me ask you this question. Which came first, the stick or your hands? You know what I mean?
Stick.
Seriously, you started with a trap kit before you went to congas or tablas, or, I mean, you play everything. You play everything.
I play everything.
You play every kind of drum
and I love it. But I've been doing it since I was young, so I had time. And it's funny because I do actually prefer playing percussion. Maybe I'll switch back to saying I prefer playing drum set, but it's true. Recently, the stage setup for my shows is working with another drummer who's really talented and who loves me, and I love her so much. So it's very synergistic. Her name is Isabel De Leon. She's a Filipino-American drummer from DC. So she now is my drummer, and she's a better drummer than I am. But she is collaborative. So it's really a pleasure, and is articulating all of the beats that I've written and then embellishing them, which is so cool. And then I'm playing my favorite stuff, which is congas and cowbells and cymbals and splashes and rides in the live show. And we work really well synergistically together. So from a musical standpoint, it's good to be able to play many instruments because then you have more tools to articulate yourself. But I do prefer playing the percussion. So it's cool that you picked up on that.
I love it. I mean, you play all of it. I'm sure you play timbales and bongos and everything. I was really impressed. It's not just, hit the DMX machine. It's actually you being a live musician playing actual musical instruments. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for a kooky little game?
Yes.
Folded or wadded?
Wadded.
What? Now, let me just ask you, being truly one of my sons. I say that in just.
No, I understood.
Okay.
I received it as S-U-N. My name means son, so I received it that way.
Oh, yes! I have another son like that who is a son. Beautiful.
That's cool.
When I said folded or wadded and you picked wadded, what were you thinking of?
A piece of paper.
Okay. Thank you. For me, it was my underwear. So that's okay. I mean, it means something to everybody. So I'm really happy that you did that.
It's because in my music video, we have images waiting for me, which is out June 26th. And I hope you all will watch it. It's shot in India, and we show schoolgirls doing mundane activities that often the school system forces us to do regurgitatively. And you see them just crunching up pieces of paper and just throwing it into a garbage. And it's like very mindless. And so that's why I had such a clear answer, which was wadded.
Perfect. Perfect. You're perfect. Your June 26th, we can see your video is going to drop. And people are knowing who you are, and may that just continue to ripple out, especially with all the love that you're bringing and who you are and your message. It's been a complete pleasure.
Rock and roll. Thank you so much.
Rock on. Thank you, Madame Gandhi. And we look forward to spending more time with you soon. And we'll definitely be watching all your videos and buying all your stuff.
Cheers, Mimi. Buy the fight, Mag. Thank you all. Wow.
I spent a lot of years through a lot of prides, all the way back to having my Keith Haring 1985 New York City Pride. That was one of the finest prides I attended because it was still a march for our rights, but we were at the moment where we were starting to celebrate ourselves and we were getting some rights in the midst of the hell that our gay brothers were enduring at that time. I've been around prides. I've been around prides since gay was spelt with 3 letters, G-A-Y. And now it's the LGBTIQC, LMNOP, E-I-E-I-O. We are a welcoming community, and no more welcome than what you can read on people's t-shirts. And the t-shirts have changed through the prides I've known. For example, one of my favorite older pride t-shirts was 2 women together, and one of them wearing a shirt, "I'm not gay, my girlfriend is." Not even using the word lesbian. Another one from the very first pride in Nashville, Tennessee. That's right, Nashville had a pride. I saw a t-shirt that said, "Church is the last place you should go to catch hell." Oh, that's a beautiful shirt. That sentiment just lets you know that in the Bible Belt, you know, what we had to face as homos. And another one further off down into Texas, I actually saw a t-shirt that said, "Come the rapture, can I have your car?" You got a good attitude, Texas. You have a great attitude, queers that have recovered from being religious. I didn't want to name any religion, even though we all know which one I mean.
Hello and welcome, Aaliyah Thomas. You are dynamo. You're probably the youngest person we are featuring on What She Said for our Pride event. You're a first responder already as a member of Gen Z and only an 18-year-old. You're a part of the deaf community and a signer, and you are an up-and-coming activist. And I just want to ask you a couple of things just to get to know you and help our audience get to know you. How did you become a first responder and signer? What is your relationship to that? And especially a first responder at 18 years old. Have you even graduated from high school yet?
Not yet. I am becoming a senior this year. My stepfather has been a firefighter for about 11 years now, and since I was like in 5th grade, I've been dreaming of being something like him. He's also a paramedic, so my dream was to become a fire paramedic as well. And the high school I'm in, called Pennsylvania High, we have a first responders magnet. And with that, we graduate with EMR, which is emergency medical response. So that's one part. And then the other part is in Florida, they have something called Explorers. So high schoolers and anybody, even graduates, can go to the fire stations, and they teach you like different parts of the station, rules and regulations. You get to go on ride-alongs, so you get to know an ambulance and a fire truck and all of that. And they also give you an opportunity to get hired in that area. So I'm looking forward to being hired soon when I graduate. And yeah, it's really cool there.
You're going to graduate high school and you're going to immediately begin your work as an EMT?
Yes.
Wow. Will you be working as an EMT hands-on doing healthcare and first aid, or as an EMT who signs, or both? An EMT that can take care of you and can communicate with you if you are a member of the deaf community?
That's actually a really good question. We are able to sign if we get certified as an EMT, but I would have to go through interpretation school, and I would have to get certified in that before I can start signing to a patient. Because if there's ever a case where they find out I'm not certified and they're freaking out for their lives and I can't understand their signing, I don't want to mess up by accident. So we do have to get certified for translating. But yeah, I could do that if I wanted to.
Okay. And do you think you want to? What do you think you want to do at the ripe young age of 18? These are impossible questions to answer for the rest of your life.
I think it would be worth it, since I am deaf myself, and I feel like somebody in the community would be happy to see somebody who knew sign language if they were crying for their lives and all of that. So I think I should do that. It would be really helpful.
Okay, Aaliyah, you just shared that you are deaf yourself.
Yes.
I don't think I knew that, and thank you for, being that forthcoming in this interview. And I want to ask, that begs another question. If you are deaf yourself and you already speak in American Sign Language, you have to be certified?
Yes, it's kind of weird how it works. Basically, it's like this. Let's say you speak Spanish. You would have to be certified in Spanish before you go and work as a lawyer. Even though you know Spanish, it's professional reasons. I've also haven't been signing for that long. My family, my dad's side, they are deaf and hard of hearing. So it passes down mother to father, daughter, son, all of that. And I'm not completely deaf, but I'm partially deaf. But in the community, we just say everybody is deaf. And right now I'm wearing hearing aids and I lip read very, very well.
Oh.
So.
Well, COVID is probably throwing a big wrench in that when everybody's wearing their masks.
Well, yes, it's been really difficult.
Wow.
I always have somebody with me just in case I really struggle to understand.
So Leah, you are about to graduate. You've got one more year of high school left. You are a first responder. You're Gen Z, and your pronouns are they and them. And are you identified as queer? I mean, you have the rainbow flag. Are you an ally? Are you're non-binary? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I am pansexual and gender fluid. It took me a while to figure out that I was gender fluid. I would always say I'm a girl, but then I realized not all the time am I a girl. Sometimes I'm a dude. Sometimes it just goes like that, So I opened up to being gender fluid about December last year, and I've always been pansexual since middle school, about 16 years old. So it's nice. It's nice to know that I have family who support me, which is the flag my mother bought for Christmas. So It was
Bravo.
nice. Really lucky. I'm really lucky.
Well, that's quite a blessing to have that level of support, starting with your own immediate family, and so that we and some of your elders and other members of the LGBTQ family can welcome you. It's so important to be welcomed within your own family first, and congratulations that you have that. I want to ask you another question about being such an activist. What did it? You go to Pinellas, which, are you Latinx at all?
Mm-hmm. I am Argentinian on my mom's side and Haitian on my dad's side.
Okay.
So a lot of mix.
You've got the total mix there. You're Afro-Carib, Afro-Caribbean. So we know that PINELLA' is Peneas, pero where you go to school, is it in Florida?
Yes, Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah, amazing how the double L becomes just two L's, okay? Villa. No, it's Villa, pero, okay, you're in Pinellas High School. And I'm curious, how close is that to Parkland? And does that have anything to do with what kind of an activist you already are? So can you tell us what activated your activism?
Yes, I am 4 hours away from Parkland. And during my freshman year is when the incident happened, and that made a very big impact on me because, of course, it wasn't the first time something like that has happened in my lifetime. There was also Sandy Hook, which happened in 5th grade, or when I was in 5th grade. So they affected me in a way that I wanted to be able to help people when they were in danger, and I wanted to stop bullying because that was a big issue, especially in middle school. And being everything that I am, I've dealt with it myself a lot. So I wanted others to feel comfortable, and I don't want them to face fears that I had to face, or that people, the victims had to face, or people who made it alive. I don't want them to ever see that. So I want to be an activist, and I want to be able to spread love and peace for everybody. I don't want anyone to have to fear. And I think that's what we need in this world.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely what we need in this world. Have you been to some prides or been called on in your life? Suddenly your activism is required? Have you had any moments like that have asked you to respond?
Oh yeah. Probably the first one was being deaf. I would always say, oh, I'm not deaf, I'm not hard of hearing, until finally I received help. I was taught sign language, or rather forced to learn sign language, but then I like it because it's me. It's what made me be who I am. And then of course the issues with racism going on again, that since my family is half Black, half white, half Hispanic, there's a lot of arguing going on and all of that. Like I'm light skinned, or I'm too white, or I'm too Black, and all of that. And it makes me mad because I love them all, and I'm sure they love me, but I still feel like there's hatred somewhere in there, and I don't like that. I don't want it to be the world. I don't want the next generation to have to deal with that. And it is a progress. We are getting better. And racism will eventually die down, but if we don't fight now, and if we don't make our voice heard, we're never going to solve it. And that's what all of these riots and all of these protests and all of these people responding on social media, that's what they're trying to do. There's better ways than others, but I feel like everyone's making a big step forward.
Well, I can see that you're starting with the step right at home, the very home that supports you as a pansexual member of the LGBTQ community, and within your own family, definitely learning sign to communicate with your family and being called upon in this moment of hopefully the unpacking, and it's going to take a long time to deinstitutionalize racism, but you are living example of it in your own home, and send compassion for what you have to experience in your own home, and send you great gratitude for your energy and your enthusiasm and your willingness to put yourself and your life on the line out there on protests and as a first responder to communicate for people who don't have a voice. And I really welcome you as a shining member of our community, and wonder if there's anything you would like to leave our viewers with. Is there a specific cause or website of your own, or an organization that you're forming, or an organization that you belong to, that you might want to share with the people who are watching?
I don't have a website yet, or I'm not in a specific group, but I do have my Instagram, and you are more than welcome to message me if you ever need someone to talk to, or if you want to make your own organization and have some people join it. My Instagram is Leah Bean. It's LEYAHBEANN. And you'll see a little Black Lives Matter profile picture if you do stumble upon another one, but I don't think you'll find another Leah Bean. Hopefully not.
I thought that might be Leah Bean when I encountered your Insta handle first. I was like, Leah Beanie? No, it's got to be Bean. Well, Leah, in this environment of so much radical shift and change, and the month of June, which is Pride Month everywhere, I want to thank you so much for participating in this, our Pride, and wish you so much strength, continued strength, because you clearly have a lot of strength already. And congratulations on the love within your family. And I could see that you're one of the members of your family that just expands that love and makes it bigger. It's been a complete honor.
Thank you for this opportunity.
You're so welcome. It's been a complete honor to interview you. We will put your Insta handle out there for people. And obviously, we will all continue to keep an eye out for Leah Bean, also known as officially Aaliyah Thomas. Thank you, Aaliyah.
T-shirts I have known throughout the prides. How about the ones I made? For a long time, lesbians did not accept me as a butch because of my magnificent hair, which, thanks to Alfredo Trujillo, a gay Puerto Rican man in New York City, because he was nowhere to be found in Michigan, where I'm from, Alfredo gave me my hair. He let me know it was naturally curly. He told me I have the hair of God. Well, once I discovered, after 2 perms to make it curly in Michigan, once Alfredo showed me my beautiful hair, I was not going to cut it. And some of my lesbian friends are like, a lesbian with long hair? What's that? Well, I'll tell you what that is. That's a stealth butch. Dressed like that which you hope to attract. So I got myself a stealth butch t-shirt, and I sold a bunch of those. And then, of course, I sold my favorite creme de la femme, because I love the femmes, especialmente lo creme de la femme. I love the creme de la femmes. A new t-shirt I came up with was one that explained my butch problem, because some of the other butches, especially you black butches who hit on me really hard and don't recognize I'm also a butch, some of the butches would say to me, "How butch are you?" And I'd have to say, "Pretty butch. I mean, I have an F-150. That's the #1 selling vehicle of all time. It's a Ford. It's a pickup truck. I have one." And then the butches would follow with, "Well, you don't look butch." And I'd have to say, "That's because I'm a pretty butch." So I sold a lot of pretty butch t-shirts. T-shirts I have known throughout the prides. even the ones I've sold are hysterical and very worthy of supporting my comedy career and worthy of getting a laugh out of me. But I have to tell you, of all the prides I've done over 25 years, the funniest t-shirt I've ever seen, of course, in Miami and San Francisco and LA and New York, it's coastal because it's just so true. This is the best t-shirt I've seen. You call it sodomy. I call it fabulous. And so do I. Because we all have that option. My fabulous friends, my fabulous family, wear your t-shirts in pride and good health and humor. Our next guest on What She Said could be one of my babies, my gay babies. A long, dark, curly-haired butch. And she's funny. Please welcome multi-hyphenate, multi-talented Lorena Russi. I want to introduce you as a multi-hyphenate comic, writer, director, queer Latinx comedian, soccer jock, clearly. Also goes by La Rata Comedy and suffers from immigrant guilt. So let's just dive in, shall we?
Which part should we decide? So I see.
There it is.
I am a director. I'm a director. So I've been shooting short films and such for the last 10 years. I was gonna get a master's in gender studies, and then I decided to become a pro soccer player, and no one's upset about that decision. And while I was playing soccer, I really just wanted to actually do something, say something, athletes, sometimes they're not all Megan Rapinoe, some of them are dum-dums. And I really wanted to do something funny and be funny. And I took an improv class, and like an immigrant kid, I had no idea what culture or the arts were. I was like, and then it just exploded from there. So I basically pulled a Lin-Manuel Miranda, or Issa Rae. Those are my mottos, of just like make the thing and do the thing. And I very much just started making little shorts, and I actually made one on how to pronounce my name, because as we've all gathered, it can take some time to figure it out. And that sort of hit a pulse in the microcosm of New York City, and I just kept making the thing. So I've lived a lot of lives. I'm gonna die soon, which I'm excited about, because I'm tired. Well, I am tired.
I hope you're a cat. I hope you're a Leo. Words I've never said. I hope you're a Leo, and you have like 9 more lives. You have 8 more lives after dying from this one. But if you're a comedian, guess what? Death is a part of the reality.
Right.
You die on stage at times, and you just have to, reincarnate yourself. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, I think with that stuff too, if you're not constantly trying to rework your stuff, like I imagine in 10 years that I'm gonna be talking about, God, I hope is different from what I was talking about in the past. Cause I don't think people realize, hey, what's this guy doing? What are you doing? I don't even know. I think a lot of times when you're doing comedy, people are like, oh, it's easy. You just open your mouth. And it's like, man, we can't all have a Jordan Peele Get Out moment. It's so hard to create one really good thing. And so imagine to have a career that spans 30 years where you have lots of great things. I think you got to have multiple lives.
Jordan Peele's Get Out moment was preceded by Key and Peele, which was preceded by Mad TV. He didn't just have his, everything builds up.
I guess what I mean is with Get Out, he literally broke a genre of film, which while I think he was incredible on Mad TV, while I think Key and Peele was incredible and iconic in its own way, I think Get Out is pretty fucking on a whole other level. So what I'm saying, Mimi, is I'm exhausted, and how do we get funny? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Listen,
we gotta
you're exhausted, and are you under 30?
Yeah, I'm 29, but I look 16, which is the only reason why I'm an actor.
Let me tell you, I'm 10 years younger 10 years younger looking than I really am, than I'm going to tell you. P.S.
Yeah.
Are you a mezcla como yo? I'm Cuban and Italian. Look at you.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm the full-blown Colombian.
Colombiana.
Yeah. Ask me about drugs. I don't do them. Yeah, but my parents actually, they're both Colombian. They met hitchhiking in Colombia. They were like, let's hit the stereotypes in every which way. And I actually made a film about it because my mom was hitchhiking and they realized that they lived in the same apartment building, which was very serendipitous and very like Colombian, like eat, pray, love. And so they started hooking up and like got pregnant in 4 months, had my sister, and then bing, bing, bong, they came to America. And that, Mimi, is the American dream.
Are you a dreamer? Were you born here?
I was born here. Yeah. I was born, I was the anchor baby. I was delivered by my mother and a Puerto Rican nurse, and my mother could not understand. No concept of vowels in Puerto Rico. And because my Colombian Spanish is very, it sounds like a depressed car salesman, no matter what. And a Puerto Rican, it just sounds kind of like wind chimes, which is like, bing, bing, like you don't really, there's nothing, they should be different words, but they're not. And so with
that's the best description of Puerto Rican Spanish, of Boricua, that I've ever heard. Wind chimes.
Yeah. Like, there's a storm of brewing. It absolutely is. We're breaking up. I mean, also I think in terms of just like dreaming, if you're an immigrant in the arts, I think ultimately you had to have some level of optimism that has been able to carry you and your craft to where, like, whatever level you get to, because if I'd been slightly more of a nihilist, I don't think I would have made it. Or if I didn't live with my parents until I was 25, I would not have succeeded in my career. So, yeah.
Let's talk about the success in your career. If we were to ask you,
sure.
Hey, let's throw up one of your short films during this Pride, I want you to tell us which ones are you the most proud of that we could throw in the middle of this interview, and talk about your queerness intersecting with your career.
Yeah, I think the ones that the gays love the most are truly, I have one called The Secret Gardener that is about me as a gardener. Try to imagine it. And it's these straight white women are having a picnic and they discover me, the gardener, and are sort of in denial about being in love with me. And so it ends with them basically like coming in their pants. But that really came from that seed of an idea, came from the fact that I felt like all these straight white women love to create fetishes of brown boys, especially queer brown boys, where they're like, I don't love her. Okay, if I loved her, I wouldn't be thinking about her every single. Do you think about kissing her? And so it's sort of like it gets into that a little bit. But that one really hits home in terms of what my life very much is and how these straight women, and specifically straight white women, interact with me. So, with that lead up, you got to enjoy The Secret Gardener. It's got, there's get some armpit hair in that. I mean, it's very gay. It's very moist. The kids love it. And I think that is a really good example of something that, like, I directed it, I wrote it, I produced it, I created it, right? And so, I'm just gonna stay hungry until someone gives me money, right? And then you have little moments of like, even making a film with my parents where I very much kind of am like, great, if someone can give me 10 grand, 100 grand to make this, amazing. But right now, the thing that matters to me the most is expressing how I feel about my family in a way that no one's seen before, because no one really sees immigrants shown in a framework that's not like gangbanger or selling drugs. And so here's my sweet parents just like talking about how they fell in love, and then the story becomes so twisted because you're like, wait, you lived in the same apartment building, and why were you hitchhiking? And also, like, you guys are so different. Like, my dad worked in the IRS. My mother started her own like Zumba gym. You know what I mean? She's like a diva narcissist. He's like, I'm just trying to like crunch the numbers, and they fell in love. And it's like, you step away from that, yes, it's my life, but holy fuck, I've never seen that happen. Why is it so hard to see that kind of story with these people when it clearly exists? So, you know, maybe those are my triumphs. Okay, those are my triumphs.
You got a lot of triumphs. I want to talk about more of your triumphs, Lorena. Lorena.
You keep practicing.
Lorena.
You got it.
Lorena. It's a short E. It's
That's
not a
very good.
Spanish E even. Lorena. Okay.
Yeah.
You've been in a lot of mainstream. You got some mainstream stuff. You know, your face is in the shot.
Yeah.
Okay. You got some successes that are really starting to explode. As a comedian, I'm going to assume you are an out comedian on the stages. Are you finding in a post-TIG world, because TIG is really a marker where things opened up.
Yeah.
Are you finding in a post-TIG world that you work all the stages or more the lavender circuit?
Oh, yeah. I'm a lavender menace, unfortunately. It seems like people can't unsee that I'm gay. And frankly, I'm out as a comedian because we have no choice. I mean, I can't show up. I'm wearing a Canadian tuxedo. Okay. There's just, we have no options. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't go out there and be like my boyfriend. People will be like, boo, show me your tits. Like, I can't really do that. And actually, I'm more interested in leaning into that. But that also comes from a place of privilege, right? Like, you have someone like Tig who really was able to manufacture and create a world that was very much about her experiences and very much her gay experiences. So I would love, Mimi, if I was able to do the straight stages, ooh, I'd give a Blumpkin to just be with all the other white heteros. But I'm finding that I get booked and cast a lot in very specific spaces and venues, with the occasional, you know, random, like, why don't you host on Amazon? Why don't you do this? And I'm like, okay. But it's more that people book me from my own communities. So like people that are trying to bring up marginalized voices will book me and be like, yes, please come on, or I have a Latino show, or I have a gay show. But I'm still finding it tough. Like, if you're not like, if I just like straighten my hair and like showed some tit, like, I think I could really get out there in comedy. But unfortunately, I've chosen the slow burn career where I just like, I only give them elbow. And so people don't really know where to put me. But watch The Secret Gardener. You can see what I can offer. Okay. That's not a tank top. I mean,
a tank top.
Yeah.
I'm glad you called it tank top. And not the wife beater, because the feminist in me can handle the younger generation using the term wife beater. Call it an inadequate ass shirt, because wife beater is not acceptable. I do think that, you know, as the audience opens up, as we can see, our own community is actually becoming more and more economically strong. We are a whole market to target to, but that also means we are a market to play to, and we can flex and we can support our own. And I'm really happy to hear, you know, that you are succeeding. I can't wait to watch The Secret Gardener, because clearly your Latina matcha is intact. Like, you know,
I'm a different matcha. Yeah. I'm a matcha tea. Yeah, man. I mean, it's very exciting. It's sort of, you know, the numbers are all there. You got the fact that Spanish is going to be like the second most spoken language by 2050. I think it's like Latinos are going to make up 30% of the population. I'm just very confused as to why there hasn't been a fast track to it. But also part of me is like, yeah, we all just want to be equal and be able to support each other and just put up interesting and new stories. Like, I don't need another white person to come up to me and be like, hey, I want to do a story about you. Let's do it together. And it's like, why don't you just like bring me into this room, because you know I can do this, and stop profiting off of me. I appreciate the help, but how do we create spaces for people to actually, like, how can we engender mentorship? How can we engender anti-racist workspaces and actual anti-racist creativity? So that's what I'm looking forward to. I really appreciate that. And I can only hope that I am booked and I work because people find me talented, and I hope that they're looking to uplift marginalized voices. But also, I don't think any of us want favors or, you know, a giving hand, right? I think it's all about just being really intentional with how we showcase so much diverse work that's out there for everybody.
I have to say congratulations in your resolve, and thank you for having that resolve, because it's a different time. I consider you one of my gay babies, you know, because I did the comedy game and the queer comedy game for almost 30 years. And to see you come up and be able to say, oh, they might want to work with me, but they want to work with me instead of supporting me through mentorship is a huge leap. I mean, it's completely 180 degrees different than when I was in LA, and the attitude was,
100%.
No one will ever mistake you for white. Fine. Do you think they'd mistake me for employable? I just want to frickin' work, you know? And you
100%.
indication that the doors that we held open to see someone like you come through is really beautiful. And I'll tell you a little aside that I think as the Latinx population, I think one of the reasons why we haven't come through here, about to be 30% of the population in this country, is all the Latinos differ very much. Our background is very different from the African American experience. There's huge African American representation. There needs to be, and there's a shared experience. You're Colombian. My father's Cuban. Boricuas are different than Mexicans. We come from a very shifting patchwork of countries and cultural backgrounds as well. There are more people from India in the media and represented in acting than there are Latinos, and we're the largest group. We are the largest subculture. And why is that? Because in Hollywood, where are the Latinos? The people in power are hiring Latinos to do menial jobs. Where are the Indians for the people in Hollywood? Oh, maybe they're their doctors, you know? Maybe they're their accountants and managers or something. But they certainly have a different orientation. I had people in LA say to me, you know, besides, you're not white, thank you. They said, where are all the Latinos? It's like, I'm right here. I'm right. It's not just the people working in your yard for nothing. So it's we've got a very precious responsibility, and I'm so relieved to hear you use some of the vocabulary that you use, and to have the awareness that you have, to know where we are in this place at this moment in time and where we're going. So you make me very proud, and you make all.
Thanks, Dad.
You know, thank you, because I have butch sons, and people are fooled by their hair. They don't understand. It's too magnificent of hair to cut off.
It's funny. I've actually never felt more masculine with longer hair, because I used to have and I was like, oh, I'll like feel like such a woman. And I grabbed my hair. I was like, I am a prince. I am a prince.
Como no? Because it is such powerful hair. But don't pull my hair. We're gonna come to it.
I feel like the Secret Garden is really going to both trigger you and empower you. I feel like you'll be like, this is what's happening.
It only took 30 years for one of my sons to make the film for me. Lorena, I'm so happy to be able to introduce you to more members of our community. I wish you a really happy Pride and super continued success on where you're going.
Hey, thank you so much, Mimi, and thank you for keeping those
You might think she's going to say legs open, but I know she's trying to say doors open, even though the thing froze. Thank you, Lorena. Russi. We'll be seeing more of you. I told you Lorena Russi was fantastic. All right, let's get ready for our next segment of Our Pride. We're going to take Coachella to the funky line, where lavender lovers are coloring in everybody's flavor. Shane Ivan Nash is ready to escort you to Queerchella for all the peaks you don't get to see on the mainstream, because we are there. We ain't square. And we're all rocking the finest hair. Queerchella with Shane Ivan Nash.